Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles!
Shredder's Revenge.
Well, hello everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today with special guest
Froggo14.
And we're gonna do a review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge for the Nintendo Switch. Let's do a brief overview and figure out what this game is all about. So this is an arcade-style beat-em-up, very similar to the old Ninja Turtles games back on the Super Nintendo and arcade classics. This game is a fantastic multiplayer game which I truly enjoyed playing through with my daughter. Me and Froggo14 really did put a lot of time and effort into this game, and we really enjoyed how you could upgrade and customize each character. On top of that, there's more levels in this game than there are in any other Ninja Turtles game, and they're more varied. There's a lot more going on, a lot more enemies, a lot more cutscenes, and a lot more to it, so let's talk about gameplay. So the gameplay in this truly is an old arcade-style beat-em-up. It sees you going from level to level, fighting through packs of enemies, seeing really cool set pieces and different animations, all to come across a big, angry boss, which may take you a few tries to beat. The nice thing about this game is that it has a cool upgrading system, which really does make you feel like you've gotten stronger, especially when you go back and play the early levels with said character. There are reasons to go back and play those levels, as there's different collectibles and different challenges to go through, and all the story elements and tidbits fit well together and really do feel like an old cartoon. This is one of my favorite cartoon series as growing up, and I really think that they invested a lot of effort into really making it have that feel and that vibe. This is something that I expected 20 years ago, not very recently to be honest with you, but I love it. This game has turned out to be a blast. Froggo, do you have any thoughts?
It's fun, but it's also really confusing.
What's confusing about it?
Learning all the different attacks and combos and stuff.
I can't agree with you there. Some of the combos and some of the attacks are kind of complex to pull off, and the game certainly has a bigger system, much broader system than any other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. That's part of the fun, but also part of the challenge. The nice part is the game doesn't really punish you for any of this, and it's really easy to just kind of go about your business and do your best. So, I think without further ado, we should move on to the next category, the story. So the story in this game really takes place like a whole season of episodes rather. Each level that you play is like its own episode and has its own cool motif and theme to it, and it has its own boss that requires its own set of skills to beat. Some of them are pretty simple and the patterns are really easy, and some of them are a little more complex and may take a few tries. What's cool is all the cutscenes kind of meld this together with fantastic artwork and great audio, and everything fits at home. It almost feels like it belongs back in the early 90s. It has a ton of different characters which all play their part, and they each have their own little piece to it, if you will, that extends the story and gives you reason to go back and try each level and find all the cool things. Now, the story's not terribly deep, and there's not much to it in that sense. A lot of the things and events that you're going through are essentially propeller into the next area, as you're just chasing from one area to the next. But if you remember these cartoons back in the day, none of the stories were terribly complex, and a lot of them were just trying to teach you little lessons about life. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is definitely one of the greatest cartoons in my opinion, and I can go back and still watch it today. The story in all of these episodes and all of these games are well written, and the characters are likable and lovable, and there's tons of them to go through. As you can see here, there's a lot of different options. So let's move on to the next category now, the graphics and animations. So the graphical and animation quality is absolutely top notch in this game. They did not pull any punches. This game looks absolutely fantastic and it runs buttery smooth. It has a perfect frame rate, no glitches whatsoever, there's no stuttering, there's no crashes. I didn't have any issues at all playing this game, not one time. But my thoughts and my opinions on this are kind of a little bit different because I grew up with these kind of games and I remember little said glitches to them. I want to give you Froggo's opinion because she's got to play them both simultaneously and she can tell you whether or not this game feels smoother or rougher than those old school games. Froggo, what do you think?
I do think the art style is very pretty, although I do prefer the more pixely art style. I do have to agree with my dad in that it does run a lot smoother than the other one.
It is kind of cool to see that old chunky art style in motion, especially on the Cowabunga collection. This game really does give it a good observation, if you will, of what new graphics would look like with the same style. I'm kind of with you in the same sense. I generally prefer the older pixel art styles, but this game to me has a great feel to it, and the smoothness of it is really hard to top. So let's do controls and audio now. So we're going to start out with a clip of my favorite audio track in the game. So I absolutely love all the sound effects and audio in this game. I think the soundtracks are extremely well done, and I think all of the voice work itself is very, very true to the original. It's hard to tell the difference with some of the characters, if not all of them, and a lot of them have their same feel, their same empathy to their voices that they did back then. Leonardo still sounds like a big brother, Donatello still sounds like the dorky little brother, and Michelangelo is the party goer that just wants to wreck everything. And then there's Raphael, he's always mad at the world. So the audio in this game is pretty top notch, and I have to mention on top of that, the performance between the audio and the game itself and how it functions is so well intermingled and so meshed well that everything really does sound fantastic. It reminds me of a cartoon, for lack of a better word. So as far as the controls go, they are fantastic. They're very responsive, quick-paced, and they have a great setup. There's not too much to it as far as complexity goes, rather than just learning the moves and the timing with each move. A lot of what this game depends on is your timing, your dodge roll, and everything is all based on that. So kudos to them, controls are great. Let's move on now to combat. So as with controls, combat goes hand in hand, and everything is extremely responsive, fast-paced, and well done. Every time I thought I was about to get overwhelmed by an enemy, the controls had my back. Not only that, they're fantastic in multiplayer. There's no damaging your friends or any craziness like that to get in your way and bug you. Everything is very responsive and fast for every character. On top of that, the combat has a lot of new moves and additions to it from the old arcade classics. You have not only new combos, but you also have moves like picking each other up, saving each other, get high-fiving for extra life. There's all kinds of fun new aesthetics to it. And as you level up in the story mode, you'll gain some new abilities, some hit points, and some things here and there that will help you. The best part about the combat, though, in this game is how refined it truly feels. A lot of this is done on a stage that I really wouldn't have expected with a lower budget release like this. How do you feel about combat, Froggo?
I honestly prefer the older combat because it was more simple and easier, but I guess the challenge of the newer combat is also pretty good.
I agree with you on that. The smoothness of the new combat really does give it a great feel, but it does bring you back to the olden days, and something as simple as just spamming an enemy is all you really need to get by. So let's do the conclusion and talk about the DLC. So first up, the DLC. And I'm not a huge fan of the roguelike nature of the DLC. It's fun, but it's very simple and it gets boring rather quick. What's really cool are the new characters. As you've seen through this whole video, I played through most of it with this new character, and I absolutely loved it. It made this run through the game a lot more fun for me. This game is still pretty cheap for a physical copy, and it's totally worth every penny. This game is a definite buy for me, and the DLC is cheap enough, especially with a sale right now on it, that I didn't feel too bad about picking it up. This is not something that I would have really thought would have come at this point in time in our lives, but I'm very happy it did, and the game's turned out to be fantastic. I'm really happy that Froggo14 chose to play this game through with me, not just once, but twice now, and we really had a lot of fun enjoying all aspects of it. This game is definite buy, and I really highly encourage you to check it out. Whether you buy it digitally or physically, it's definitely a fun play. The physical version of this probably will be fairly valuable, as it does come with some goodies, and the game is fairly well complete on the cartridge. There's a lot of great aspects to this game. What would you rate this, Froggo?
Probably a 4 out of 5.
I can agree. So thank you for watching today's video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27 Kane and
Froggo14
signing out.
The world is mine.
Nice to meet you, now I'm here to beat you with full force. Mess up your face with beat you. I see the beast, I'm selling all y'all little Caesars. All y'all stuff your face with is pizza. Pizza crack like a hard egg on Easter. Easter, see these muscles on time to call the call. I think it's time to call the war. Still Facebook playing villains and more. With heroes in a half shell going to war. Got the city on the siege and they holding the fort. Got extra large pizza boxes all on the floor.